Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. You know, the other day I had that big old mechanical Tarrasque from Mini Monster Mayhem, and I absolutely love it, and I have no idea how I'm going to paint it, but it made me realize that I don't have a living Tarrasque, a biological Tarrasque. How about that? Let's categorize it that way. We don't have a biological Tarrasque until today. So it just so happened that Lord of the Print, who had an already really nice looking Tarrasque, and actually was one of the ones that I was eyeing, well, one of the original founding members had his little swan song of a farewell by putting together a brand new Tarrasque. So I was like, oh, what perfect timing. So I went ahead and printed it. Or at least I printed the base. I don't know what it is with Tarrasques, but every single person who's printed one, or designed one at least, always wants to have a super teeny tiny little, village at the bottom. And I guess maybe it's just me, but after having gotten my Eon Trespass Unknown pledge with all of its, giant primordial titans fighting each other, this base feels a lot more in line with that. So you've got the hill here. And I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite designs for a rather large base. You can see it fits pretty darn flush. And if you have any experience printing these kinds of bases for these very large figures, you're going to be quite familiar with the fact that a lot of times things don't want to line up the way they need to. So already, this is off to a great start. Is there a little bit of a noticeable gap in certain areas? Absolutely. Can we get those fixed and filled? Probably. Will I? That's debatable. And then we also have this little bridge piece that's supposed to go. Actually, see, like I said, that's a really good fit. Gonna go like that. So, quite large base. Must mean we're gonna have a quite large Tarrasque, right? Well, I don't think it's going to come close to the 200% sized one from Mini Monster Mayhem, but I do feel it's going to be pretty decently sized in its own right. Here we see the head. Let's see if I can brighten that up a bit. And much like the base, just about every single piece was actually hollowed out, which, despite the fact that they are, still used a lot of resin. Probably wouldn't help if I filmed these in the middle of the night, but that's okay. Got to get a bunch of these videos done and out of the way, because I want to get myself some vacation time. At least from filming. So that's the head and neck. The body itself is two large pieces, like you see here. Again, that's not how they go together. That is. It sits pretty flush. I mean, that's a good fit. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Some of the little guys I was a little let down with that came with this release. The big stuff was great as always. Their basic Chaos Warriors were actually really cool. And then on the shoulders here, maybe it was just my lousy printing job. You have these big spikes. Gonna go like so. A little bit of cleanup still necessary there. That's okay. And then we have his little T-Rex hands. And I'm not sure what those protrusions are. I'm guessing some kind of a rocky exoskeleton shell-like substance, considering he's got all those rocky structures of armor plates on his back. Scoots? Is that the word I'm thinking of? And the legs. Not super gigantic, but fairly large. Now, one thing I noticed immediately, because, well, I've printed it, and I've printed quite a few of these big monsters from Lord of the Print, was that the pose itself was pretty similar to the Godzilla pose that they put out last year. Obviously, it's not the same, and it's nowhere near the same style of body, but I mean, I can't really fault them if they use that as the basis for starting the sculpt. But when you get to the tail sections, it totally doesn't look like it at all. So our tail is two pieces. If I can figure out how it goes together there with its nice big thagomizer. Named after the late, great, I forget what thagomizer's research caveman was. Popping a support off there. So again, nice, really clear. I mean, if you wanted to go do some speed paints, contrast, I think that's going to look really nice with this. In fact, maybe I'll cheat and just do that. I'm thinking like a light brown on the bottom, and then like a dark brown for all of his heavy armor pieces. Might look kind of cool. And then maybe actually paint the base like normal. But first things first, we got to get it all put together. So, give me a sec. We will get all this monstrosity glued together, and we'll grab a few other big boys we got laying around in the house. See how it all turns out. So, sit tight. So, camera is all zoomed out, and plop, there is the base to our Tarrasque. It actually went together pretty well. Yeah, there's a little bit of gaps here and there, and it gives me major Eon Trespass Odyssey vibes with the whole ruined village all over it. Pretty cool. One thing I like over a lot of the other larger, big, bipedal monsters from Lord of the Print that I can think of recently is we actually have notches for the creature to attach to the base. That's been a big issue with me in painting a couple of the other big monsters, working on the big stuff that I have. And here we have the big bad boy himself. And I gotta say, the construction was pretty smooth. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of gaps here and there. You know, you get that kind of stuff even with actual resin kits and plastic stuff. Nothing a little bit of, you know, green stuff can't overcome. Maybe the liquid green stuff or some putty. I'm really liking just the thickness of that armored layer he's got going on top. And his three-bladed tail bit there, his thagomizer. Like the little crest right here. He's an impressive guy. Pulling him off the base here. Lots of nice detail on the underbelly. Like I said, things go together pretty smoothly. I'm probably going to cheat and just get like a solid matte spray can and just blast him to get started. I think that's the easiest way. And I think I mentioned earlier that his pose, you know, I feel like we've seen similar before. Not exactly 100%, but getting our Godzilla model. Sorry, the King of the Beasts, Kaiju, whatever they called it. There are similarities with the one leg up, tail turned, body twisting. I saw that with like the big land sharks as well. We saw it from Lord of the Print, but you know, when you have a big monster with a long tail like this, and obviously based on more kind of dinosaur-like proportions, that is going to be an issue getting things, you know, you can't have everything in a new and original pose, so I'm not going to really fault that too much. Size-wise, well, he is absolutely massive, with our typical Inquisitor 25mm / 28mm friend there, just for reference. The only thing I think that's really going to throw things off in terms of size and scale is just the miniature buildings all around him. Unfortunately, there is no optional other variation on the base, so you're going to be stuck with those little buildings if you were to use him in a typical D&D campaign. I mean, he's a big, impressive beast. Now, he may not be as big as, like, the absolutely redonkulous Mega Tarrasque from Mini Monster Mayhem, but I don't think many things are going to get to that point anytime soon. This thing, it's like as big as my pet dog. I mean, it literally is, I think he actually is longer than my Chihuahua. But yeah, I can't even fit it on the screen. He's just that big. You can find a video of this monstrosity on the channel already anyway. But I think if you need something a little bit more in scale, realistic sizes, I think this is a great alternative. Really impressive kind of display with the base. Again, I think as nice as that is, it does hamper it a little bit if you're going to use it in a typical fantasy campaign. I don't know how you can... I'm sure most of us have find some sort of an explanation to hand wave it away. Why there's miniature buildings all over the base. Maybe it's, you know, destroying a replica of the town that it was hibernating nearby or something. But just an overall solid effort from Lord of the Print. But you know what? I honestly feel like that's almost to be expected when it comes to big, impressive, multi-part kits. I think they are continuing to put out bigger, better, and even more high-quality models as they continue to improve and evolve their talent there. So if you guys are interested, we'll have that link down below, and there's always something new and interesting coming from them. So even if you don't get this immediately when it's brand new, fresh hotness, there's always something exciting right around the corner, and that's one of the things that I love about 3D printing as well. Helps keep me sane with everything that goes on in the world around us, trust me. So, with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.